Today we're going to have a close look at crypto majors, weekly closes, what this means for our longs. Should we be scared? Should we be worried? How should we manage the current situation in crypto? All of that in today's episode. Let's go. Good morning and welcome everybody. Another intense week in the market and in the world in general is over. We have some weekly closes to look at and we want to dive into crypto majors today. Let's start with USDD. We are currently still at range high and we're going to have a closer look into local PA as well. But let's start with the range, the higher time frame range. The reason why we are long, because here is supply, we are at the range high, extreme higher time frame premium pretty much on this chart. And that's why we are long crypto. And this idea still stands. It doesn't really matter what happens locally. If you have a higher time frame idea, you can use local PA to validate your idea, to add some to your exposure, to scalp ranges in between, whatever works for you. But in general, if you have a higher time frame idea, this is what you should look at. And nothing really changed. We have a bounce from this double hidden weekly breaker block. And this brought us back to the local mid-range, range high, whatever. But like externally speaking for this whole range, nothing really changed so far. We have still this big absorption wig at the highs, and now we grind higher with weekly bodies, which looks super bullish on this chart. But in general, there is no reason to overpredict anything here. We can look at local PA and I can give you my thoughts on that. But in general, if you want to trade higher time frame structure, trade higher time frame structure. It's as simple as that. And looking now at the local structure, we had a very, very aggressive move up. And usually those moves get somewhat retraced at some point. They don't have to, obviously. Things could be happening that never happened before. So no certainties as usual, but we are now still at this range high. We have this break of this very parabolic trend here, and now we consolidate. And to me, this looks like parabola, sideways price action, breakdown. We have a daily, pretty much not a strong close, but we have a close below, which we could argue that's a break of structure to the downside. And usually once this happens, we wait for a bounce and then we can use as confirmation to go long. I don't do that because I have built my exposure already. For me, the higher time frame idea is not invalidated. There's no reason to get bullish because of that. There's no reason to get overly bearish because of that. The real world situation is still kind of tense, and as said, it's not a certainty that a fear catalyst will lead to a broader bullish reaction. But in general, there's no reason to invalidate all bullish ideas. There's no reason to validate any bearish ideas. We simply trade structure. And if you have not built any exposure, these pullbacks back into this range, they are the ones you want to look at. We have a local daily breaker block here, which could again lead to a bearish reaction. But if you don't trade lower time frame stuff, don't get hung up on this stuff. Look at higher time frames, look at different higher time frames, because for example, the 7-day gives a very different picture than the weekly does. And we know those closes are also predatory, as talked about in the last video. Now looking at BTC real quick, I made a post on X around here stating that at local range highs, I'm bearish locally. And so far, I was right on that because we have a 10% pullback and we are back in the range. Nothing invalidated, but also no bullish continuation. So don't be bullish when everybody's bullish. Don't be bullish after pumps, be bullish when prices come back. And I've shared this and I even linked those videos here because guys, I share pretty much a step-by-step thing, how to manage those positions, how to manage your mental game, how to read this current situation and to not get crazy about probabilities. And I make 2 videos a week, so if you want to learn about position management and how I handle these uncertainties and probabilities, it's all there. And you can watch those videos, you can rewatch those videos because I mean, they're like time-stamped proof of how I think and what I do. But not only are they news videos, but really how to enter your positions, how to manage your positions, how to manage your mental game, and all that, how to read the current situation. And you will face such reversals again. And I said 2025 and that's wrong. It's 2026. So my mistake here. But in general, those videos are rewatchable simply because you see how to position yourselves around a potential pivot point, because that's what's important. Everybody knows by now where levels are and how to spot supply and demand, or most people do actually. But this is like how to really handle your mental game, how to handle your position, how to handle risk, how to hedge yourself. And you can simply rewatch those videos. As said, it's more or less a step-by-step guidance of how to position yourselves around key levels. And for everybody who still struggles to even understand all those words I used right now, like hedging, supply and demand, premium discount, I have this free Discord running. The link is in the description. And if you look here in study area, if you go all the way down here, study area, you have categories about all those important topics. And this can be your starting point for beginners or early intermediates, where you can find everything about risk management, hedging, how to read your own mental game, how to manage your positions, how to use leverage without blowing up, how to read order flow, macro knowledge. It's all there. And it's pretty much, this can be your starting point. It's all in categories. And if you work yourself through that, you will understand all the basics. This will help you to level up a lot, become an intermediate, and my videos and everything I talk about will start to make way more sense, because this YouTube channel is devoted to intermediate players that are ready to level up to become experts in what they do. And so sometimes I just keep on talking, sometimes I use all those words. I know if you're new and if you're new to the channel, some things may not make sense, but trading is a profession where you need to hold yourself accountable, and only you can hold yourself accountable. And as said, I'm here to help people. I really enjoy doing the educational stuff. I really enjoy working with people, but I can't explain everything every time. This is why I made this, because everything I learn, everything I do, everything I use as a strategy is already here and it's free. Use the link if you want to get access to my setups as well. Introduce yourself here in this channel. Tell us who you are, what you do, what your main goal is in life. Then you have access to all the channels, but the study area is free for everybody. You can learn all the basics. Knowledge should be free, and that's why I freed this knowledge. And after you studied all that, my videos make a lot more sense. You will probably be leveled up to be an intermediate, and then my videos can help you to level up even more. I still think the market catches some people off guard again and again and again, especially if they're not positioned for any possible outcome, if they're still trying to predict and still trying to outsmart the market. And so don't be bullish here. Even though we took this high, it's still not very convincing, right? We made a high locally, and so we can continue this trend maybe. Also looking at this on the daily, but it's uncertainty. And don't be bullish at those highs, never. Don't do that. It's always a bad idea. And if we look at altcoins, for example, the picture is way clearer because we never took really the range high. And so don't be bullish at local range highs. And this is also the reason why I'm still swing short BTC, because this short is easily paying for all my potential losses. And that's exactly what I want. I want to be positioned for every possible outcome. I want to be ready. I will profit from falling prices. I will profit from rising prices. This is the position I want to be in as trader. And this is the position you should aim for. If there is any reason for you to look at lower timeframes, such as daily and lower, is to understand where we are in this local structure. And locally speaking, you should see this as a range. And once we are at this range high here, don't be bullish. I mean, there might be a breakout, but like statistically speaking, it's the wrong choice to be bullish at those highs. If your trading strategy is not a breakout strategy, this is not how you should do it. You should wait for a pullback at least into the mid-range, and then you can decide if you want to add exposure or if you build a position. It's the same reason why we are long looking at tether dominance, because we are at the range high. And this is the same story here locally. So understand the context. The context is important. If there is a single reason for you to look at lower timeframes, is for exactly that, to know where to be locally bearish or bullish, because this will make it way easier to not look at those green numbers and say, wow, it's super bullish, everything is going up. No, we are local range highs. Important stuff. Still long ADA, it's back at my entry. Still nothing invalidated. Doesn't look super strong now taking those local lows out, but in the end, it's a higher time frame idea, and I'm gonna play this higher time frame idea for what it is and invalidate it should structure break down. Now, other majors, I said it's very unlikely for me to say USDC reverses here. It did actually react from here. Now the question is this really the higher time frame reversal or not? USDC looks way stronger than Tether does, actually. So we have not this classic parabola breakdown pattern. It did break down, but it's more aiming for a double top or whatever. And we also have this break block here locally if you want to trade the local structure or get a better bias. And also a quick look at ETH BTC. still sitting in this weekly breaker block, still nothing changed. So you see on higher time frame, everything that happened pretty much is just noise right now on crypto. And if you get emotional based on ranges, on local ranges, just because the percentage moves are so big, the volatility is so high, you're probably too zoomed in for your level of experience. So make sure to not forget the bigger picture and only go for the smaller picture, for the more detailed stuff, if you're ready for it. Otherwise, it will mess with your mind and then with your positions. So SPX looks weak. I mean, I talked about this pretty much since here. Now it finally played. It took some time, it took some patience. And to be honest, I would be very surprised if you don't see at least a reaction from here. But again, this doesn't mess with my higher time frame idea. We could see a reaction here. If you want to trade this, why not? It's demand. But for me, I'm gonna just keep my positions. And I know people are not that interested in Tradfi actually, and it's at least 50% of what I do. So I'm going to share this as well. And especially because those markets, they have an impact on crypto as well. They have an impact on risk perception. They have an impact on risk appetite. And so they affect crypto. We are at local range lows. So I would not be surprised to see some kind of reaction. But as I said, doesn't mess with my short idea. And other than that, oil is simply going ballistic. I hope you fueled your car last week and you can get by for maybe a day or two or a week or two. Simply because I think at some point we will reject, and then yeah, prices might drop quite aggressive, because this is not very sustainable right now. But obviously, yeah, super crazy stuff here. I didn't went long on oil, faded this play, but in the end, can't catch them all. No worries here. And I'm along wheat, so commodities in general get huge traction right now. Also soybeans, we talked about this. Nobody usually interested in those plays, but they are also gaining traction quite a lot of this uncertainty. And to be honest, I wouldn't even call all of this just based on the war and uncertainty. I would say it's simply a capital rotation, because traders reallocate themselves from stocks, from crypto into this and that. So money is always flowing more or less in circles, and it will always come back to a certain market. And those markets were undervalued, and I talk about those since months already. Played out quite nicely. And once again, regarding crypto, stay level-headed. There's no reason to get emotional because of this little range here. We might continue higher from here, we might continue lower. To be honest, in reality, you have three options. We go sideways, we go up, we go down. So don't make yourself crazy. Don't try to overcomplicate it. Don't try to outsmart the market. You have a higher time frame swing idea. You should position yourself for that. If you trade intra-range, intraday stuff, intra-week stuff, make sure you understand the context and differentiate those ideas. And look at structure. Structure is really telling right now. It's just a range until proven otherwise. That's it, guys. Have a nice week ahead. Ignore the noise, trade the structure. Bye.